Beautiful people out there. Welcome to a new segment of Era Stories. And boy, we got a show today. I got to tell you. Our guest, I'm going to name him the Kobe Bryant of model agents. Over 30 plus years of excellence with the same company, an amazing father, an amazing human, from model to booker to agent to agency director to president. Guys, I would like to welcome my very dear friend who I have not seen in many years and is very dear to my heart, Mr. Joey Hunter. So I'm coming in a bit earlier so I could make sure that I get Joey time to get on board, and I'm about to get him on the line right now. Joey, boom, boom. There we go, Joey Hunter. I'm about to send him this invite. Joining us with my new favorite word, momentarily. And I'm so excited about this, guys.
There we
I'm so
are.
excited. Oh my goodness. Oh my.
Omar, it's been so long.
Oh my goodness. Joey Hunter.
Jeez.
Joey. Oh, I have
Good to see
no
you.
words. I'm right now, I'm blown away. I'm trying to adjust this camera so we can see each other perfectly. I can see you perfectly.
Am I okay?
You look as beautiful as always, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
My
Well,
goodness. Joey,
it's
how long
I'm,
has it been, my friend?
oh, I can't imagine how long I haven't seen you. I think I saw you when you were still modeling.
Yes and no. I'm going to share a story that's very uh, dear, and you may have not remembered this story. And first and foremost, Joey, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to do this with you and share with the world the incredible, illustrious career that you had. No one, I really don't know anyone that has had your career. Sorry. I
Thank you.
mean, over 30 plus years, all with the same company, starting from being a model to becoming the president of the company and overseeing all operations. And one of the beautiful things about you, Joey, that I've always respected and admired, I have never heard anyone speak an ill word about you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that is incredible for this industry that, we get our haters here and there and the
Yeah.
naysayers or whatever. Every time you mention the word Joey Hunter, there's a level of respect that comes with that name, a level of trustworthiness, a level of professionalism, and the ultimate star maker. So, first and
Thank you.
foremost, Joey,
Thank you.
please
Thank
share
you.
this story.
I think I think you're over. You're making me feel too good.
No, no,
Uh,
no, I mean it, and I'm pretty much sure all of our audience feel the exact way.
uh,
Um, Joey, how did this whole journey started for you?
well,
Please.
it's a long story. I think it's an interesting story. While I was at high school, I was a bebop singer. We'd sing on the corner and we'd sing all these different songs by the Penguins, the Earth Angel, and songs like that. Uh, the Five Satins and In the Still of the Night. And well, I started out with that, and I was in high school, and then I got out of high school and I was going to go to college to become a physical education teacher because I was athletic when I was in high school. And so I started off in college, but we were going also with our group to the Brill Building in New York, which was the heart of rock and roll at that time.
Okay.
And we did cut a record. I had a group called the Devotions,
Well,
and we did a bunch of little record hops and stuff. And somebody said I should start modeling, or I should do that. So in the meantime, I found a little agency in the late 50s. And I used to do all the romance magazines. In those days, they had romance magazines. I killed my girlfriend. I went to jail for, and I'd be in a leather jacket. I was a typical juvenile delinquent type.
I
So
love it.
I started studying acting, and I was doing all this true love and love stories, and somebody said, "Why don't you go up to?" What happened is that I had an agent called Martha at Chuck Trainer, and what she did was she booked me on a commercial one day. I finally got a commercial. We used to make rounds, go see different agents all the time. So you'd see 5 different agents each day to see if they had something for you. And you'd leave your picture at all of these agents. So finally, Martha calls me from training and says, I got a commercial for you. And I think you're perfect for it. So I get the commercial. First of all, it's called Colinos toothpaste. It's for South America. It was a Latin American commercial that they were shooting in New York. And if you had to see it, you had to go to Venezuela, because that's where they were using the commercial.
Okay.
So I did a commercial. I did a good job. And she said, "Why don't you go over to Ford and see if they like you?" So she makes an appointment with Jerry Ford, who was running the men's division at that time. So I went over. He looked at me and he says, "Well, I don't have anybody else that looks like you, so I'll take
Give it
you
a
on."
shot.
Now, when he said, you've got to understand, I had dark hair, dark eyes, and I had olive skin. Everybody else looked like white bread.
Right.
You know, blue eyes, light skin. So he said, "We'll take you." I said, "All right." And my nickname was Joey Hunter. When I was a kid growing up, I used to have a horse that I rode, and my friends called me Hunter because they said I looked like the horse. So basically, from around 13 years old, I was always Joey Hunter. And if you go back to my old neighborhood, everybody says, "Oh, Joey, how are you? Joey Hunter." They called me Hunter. So we said, let's use that name, because my last name is Pantano, which is very Italian and made me look very sophisticated. And in those days, I was a junior model. So we started out, and I started to do a lot of ads with girls. Wherever there was a girl, there was Joey in the background. I got in with 17, and I got in with a bunch of photographers that liked me. They were all from New York or Jersey, and I was from New York. So basically, they started booking me for all these boy-girl shots. I wasn't doing any fashion. I was just doing really commercial stuff,
Sure.
toothpaste, cigarettes, with groups, just really, commercial stuff, I would say. Fashion was mainly catalog at that time.
Exactly.
And
I remember.
I went to one of the catalogs in the beginning, a guy named Old Man Becker, and he looked at me and he said, "We don't book any Italians like you." And he did all the Sears and all the J.C. Penney. So I was out of that. But luckily, I had these photographers, and I started doing a lot of editorial for 17. And I was really busy. I was in 17 magazine every month. And every ad that was done with a girl, there was Joey in the background doing some shit or another.
I love it. So now tell me.
So what happens is that Pierre Cardin decides to show his men's line in New York. Who's the best European look in the world? Joey Hunter. He books me right away, and I become, I start working for Cardin, for all these people, and then Sears, J.C. Penney, they loved me because then they put me in their European section because they started introducing different clothing and types. And then I had a great career with J.C. Penney and all those catalogs. Montgomery Ward, I must say, Montgomery Ward, of all the catalogs, started booking me before the European look came in.
Sure.
And first of all, I couldn't be in the sun, so I had to wear a hat because if I got too dark, they couldn't retouch it.
Oh my God.
And all the girls were really very white. None of them got a tan.
Right.
So basically, Joey, stay out of the sun, and I would have sun, big hats, glasses, and I'd be on the beach, So, which was going to lead to another thing is that I was the shortest model. I was only 5'10".
Right.
Now the girls were really tall, They were 5'9", and when they put on their heels, they were tall. So I used to have telephone books, which nobody knows about telephone books. But at each catalog house, they had Joey Hunter's telephone books, which I would stand on, so I'd be bigger than the girl, or her same height. And I did that for years. I did very well with TV commercials. I did about, during that, from 60, I would say, to 69, I did around 12 commercials, 13 commercials.
Wow.
So I did a lot of stuff like that. Most of them were girl commercials. The only one I did was Brill Cream, which was for guys. When Brill Cream started advertising again, I did about 4 or 5 Brill Cream commercials. I came back to Brill Cream, and I was their guy. After a while, the business started changing. They were looking for older guys, and this junior modeling with all these kids that were juniors was fading out because they were absorbing. There was no junior look anymore. Everybody was wearing the same type of clothes, So I became friendly while I was at Ford with Jerry Ford. We became great friends.
Of course.
I was a member of the athletic club because of my phys ed background.
Right.
So when I went to New York, I was a junior member at the athletic club, and he was a member, and he played squash. Now, from Brooklyn, who knew squash, what squash was? Never heard of it. But,
right.
I mean, I started playing squash with him, and he taught me how to play squash. So at lunchtime, if I wasn't working, he'd be there playing squash. I'd go get a game with him, 2 games with him. He always beat me, but I gave him exercise because I was fast and I was able to run around. So one day I asked him for a job. I said, Jerry, I'd love to work as an agent in the men's division, or work in the agency, whatever you can do, So he said, Joe, I don't have an opening. About 2 weeks later, he calls me, he says, how would you like to run the men's division? I said, what about Jenna, who was running it? He said she just went over to Wilhelmina to open up a men's division at Wilhelmina. She opened up the original men's division. They took her from Ford. So there I was the next day. I was in, and I was the director of the men's division.
Oh my goodness.
So being that I was working all the time, I knew a lot of the models. A lot of them. They all came to work with me. So I started getting all the good models who I worked with from all the different agencies. One agency, I'm sorry to say, it was called Stewart. I must have got most of their models, and they went out of business. So I built up that men's division. it was, you know, from nothing to really something.
Oh yeah.
And after a few years in the 70s, I started in 69. In the 70s, they made me a vice president. So I was still running the men's division, but I became a vice president. And Jerry was really a super guy. And he took me with him when he was negotiating contracts for the girls. So I got to know uh, what was going on with all this, our top girls. My friend Marion, who ran the women's division, who started the same time with me, she was a stylist, and I used to work for her at A&S, do
A&S.
photo
What's
shoots.
Brooklyn?
So she came to work for Ford's. So all of a sudden, people would call me and say, Joey, Susie Q is doing they want it for Revlon. What should we charge? What should we do? Do you want to look at the release or the contract? So Jerry and I would look at all these things. And we would then, I started negotiating for all the females down in the women's division. Jerry and I started the residuals in print. We started saying that, look, if you want this person, it's going to cost you $60 an hour, but you book it for the day. Now, if you want to use it for a counter card, you got to give us another $60. You want to use it for a billboard, you got to give us another $60. But we were doing, you know, girls were making $2,000 a day. So we started charging for each usage. So what I am saying is that we started that there was such a thing as a usage fee. So basically, when I represented Christy Turlington, if she worked for $10,000 for the day and they wanted to use that picture in Europe, they paid for that picture to use it. Now, all of Europe, we cut up into demographics. So England was a big place. England paid $5. France was, they paid $5. But then if you went down to Saudi Arabia or you went to another, they were $2. So we had all this, and we started all of this, Jerry and I. So basically, I had to do a lot of work besides the guys. Well, first of all, the look of the guys was changing.
Yeah.
I loved good-looking guys. I used to say, my office is full of matinee idols. They were ready for the movies, you know, and I really went for handsome guys. And then all of a sudden they were booking homeless guys, you know. They were booking guys that were really weird looking. But I had a great girl who worked with me by the name of Rita
Oh yeah.
Valentine.
Yes.
And Rita slowly took over my, you know, I still looked for guys, but she was really running the office. And I was working on a lot of the girl stuff. I got to tell you a funny thing. Eileen, now, how does Eileen get into all this? Eileen was my friend. She had a heart. She has a heart of gold. She had a heart of gold. She was crazy. She knew what she was doing. She would call a guy like Harvey Weinstein a pig. She knew everything that was going on. She protected our girls, but she used to get mad at me. And when we were on the charts before the computers, she would send the girl up with all the girls' charts that I was talking to and say, you're representing them. Then she'd call all the girls and say, we don't represent you anymore, Joey does. She gets so pissed at me because I was talking to the girls to tell them, you know, I just talked to Claro, and you can't sign this, and we're going to get you this for this and this for this. So she gets so pissed at me, and then she gives the charts. And I go to Jerry and I say, Jerry, you know, I can't do this. So he said, don't worry, I'll call Eileen. So he'd call Eileen. She'd send somebody up to get the charts, you know. So I was working with the woman, you know, and finally I got to the point where Eileen acknowledged it, you know, that Joey had a big hand in negotiating all the usages for the females. So I had a great career. I was there for until 98, till 1998. And I negotiated Clairol, CoverGirl, L'Oreal. I started Willow Bay at Estee Lauder, and Willow was at high school, in college at the time. And I started with the, they liked Willow Bay, and I negotiated her contract. I negotiated Elizabeth Arden. And I represented everybody. Look, I didn't find them. I did not find them. I wasn't a guy to go out and look for girls. Even though when I traveled, I would stop and look at the girls, and I would send the pictures to Eileen. And say, this one I think is nice, and this one I think, and she had the final say. Eileen wouldn't go to Milano, so I went to Milano a lot. She used to say that Milano has too many playboys, but she would send the girls to Paris, who I thought had more playboys than Milano. So she'd go to Paris, and I'd go to Milan. And Milan was, at that time, Milan was becoming a big market. It was still little, and I was working with a guy named Luigi, who used to call me darling all the time. Darling,
Amore,
what are you doing today, darling? Amore, amore, mwah, mwah. So it was a great time in my life, and luck played a lot in it. The industry was growing. I came in the beginning. When I came in, I don't think we did $1 million a year.
Really interesting.
Prices were, when I was a model, it was $35 an hour.
That I remember.
Right, and when I came in, the men were making much less than the girls. And the rate was published on the head sheet. Each girl had a rate. And I think the top rate maybe was $75 an hour. But most of the girls were, I think, 60. So I raised all the guys' rates to 60, just like that.
Bravo.
And I didn't publish the rates. I said, no more publishing of the rates. We're going to get what we can get. And of course, my girls were always in with a higher rate. And we always would settle then for us. It started at 60. I think it was 65 an hour. But we started getting tremendous day rates. Started with 2,500. It used to be, 8 times or 5 times, I think, the hourly rate. Well, we threw that out the window, because then we were getting 3,000 or 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 10,000. Clients were paying like mad. I was in a perfect position. I knew all the clients from my days as a model. So I wined and dined them. I didn't call them on a computer and text them or email them. I had lunch with them. It was the age of the martini lunch. I saw everybody. I invited them to my house. I invited them to my country house. I played softball with the guys. I was the captain of the team. And I had all these kids who come from different colleges who played baseball. So, of course, we were in the advertising league. They had an advertising league that played in Central Park. And there was J.C. Penney, Warner Brothers, the FBI, J. Walter Thompson. They all played in this league. And they had all these guys. You got to understand, at that time, all your photographers and creative guys came from Queens, the Bronx, and Brooklyn. All the creatives, not the account executives. The account executives are still WASPs. They were all these white guys, that been there for years. But all your creative guys, Nick Lamisella and Tony Russo and this guy Leibowitz, Richard Hyman, Joe Santoro, Sante Fulano, you know, with Sante had an accent, but he came from the Bronx, you know. I mean, it was amazing how all the creatives and all your photographers all came from where we lived. I mean, I never forget, I came up to see Dick Hyman once. And Dick Hyman was a kid from the Bronx. And he was a good photographer. And he was married to Carmen. He was a very good photographer. So he said, I'm doing a trampoline shot. Can you jump on the trampoline? I said, yeah. So I showed him how he can do backflips. And I did flips. And I was doing, he got a job with 17. And I was jumping on the trampoline.
You lost your audio for a second. Your audio is going in and out. Where's your audio, Joey? Please don't leave me hanging on that story. That's too much of a good story. Come on, Joey. Get that audio back. Oh my goodness, guys. Technical. This is the difference between then and now.
I'm here.
There we go.
So Dick Hyman, I do this job for Dick Hyman, and all of a sudden, Dick Hyman books me for everything. Everything you could imagine. He's booking me. And also, in order to get booked by Dick, he used to have a bunch of guys up at his studio, and he had punching bags. So we had to punch the bag for hours at a time. Being athletic, I knew how to punch the bag, you know. So all these skills from a kid helped me by being a gymnast and being all that stuff and belonging to the athletic club. And I got to say, it was the beginning of our business. And I was there by luck and by the luck that I made. You make your own luck. And I grew with the business. And you know, the 80s and 90s, the business was unreal. Unreal. Yeah. We made so much money. Plus, we partied.
Yeah.
Everybody. Look, I had a family. They were my family, these guys. Yeah. The guys and girls were my family. They lived in my house. They came to my apartment. They came to my apartment, lived in my house. You know, they lived in my apartment, came to my house. I mean, we went out together. We'd have dinners. I'd have dinners of 8, 10, 12, 15 people at Jimmy McMullen's. I mean, I had the models. I had the clients. I had everybody. Would invite them out. We entertained. You know, I mean, if I call somebody on the phone, I called them and I said, what are you doing tonight? Or what are you doing this week? When can we get together? That never happens now. Never happens.
At all.
You know? So it was lucky. It was a good time. There were a lot of drugs in that time, too. In the 80s and 90s, when Studio 54 opened up, everybody went crazy. Studio 54 was, you know, I had one of my birthday parties there. I've had one of my Ford parties there. You know, I mean, Steve Rebell was a good friend, and Roy Cohn was our lawyer at the time, and he was the lawyer for Steve. And, you know, Roy was notorious, but we needed Roy. This is going back to the 70s. I'm jumping around. But Roy was my lawyer and handled one of my divorces. I've been married a lot of times.
Wow.
So we handled my first divorce. So Eileen was having we were having a problem with the license bureau. At that time, we were licensed by the Consumer Affairs, I think it was. So Roy went down, made a motion, and we became personal managers. And the advantage of being a personal manager over an employment company that employed, set up meetings for people to go out and go to work. We were able to get 20% instead of 10%.
There you go, people. That's the
Once we
education right
become
there.
management, we became 20%ers. We were free to charge whatever commission, but we thought 20% when 20% was fair. And the models that were at 10%, we left them at 10%, but anybody knew we charged 20%. And that's how we got the 20% at Ford. And of course, every other agency then
Yeah, follow suit.
followed. And we all became management companies. So sometime in the late 80s, we did some sort of a deal with the agency. We swapped. I don't know where we bought Eileen and Jerry out, or bought parts of them out, and therefore Jerry, Eileen, myself, Marion, and Katie became partners in the agency.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the bank had over 50% of the agency, or 40%, I forget. No, 30, because 30, because there was Billy and Lacey too.
Right.
So they had 30%. So now we had to buy back the 30%. So as we worked, we bought it back.
Got you.
So I wound up with about 12 and a half, 13% of the company. So when I retired, I had stock in the company, and I became a partner and became co-president with Katie and Marion. And Marion really ran the booking board, and I was overall. Jerry was able to go away on Fridays and come back on Mondays, and take a little more time because I was working overall on the company, So I did that until 1998,
That's
and then they bought me out, and I opened up an agency with old people, Jean-Luc. Now, Jean-Luc was crazy then, but I didn't know how crazy he was until I started working for him. I was a partner in the agency, and what I found out is, as I'm working along, and we were doing all right, for a new agency. We had a lot of girls that came from different agencies, and of course he had a bunch of kids that came from Paris, which were really good, making some money. We were doing okay, but Jean-Luc had this nasty habit of sending girls over that he found. Where he found them, I don't know, and they'd show up in the morning about getting test shots, and some of them were looking for apartments, and I would look at them and say, Jesus, maybe I could arrange a test shot or something. But most of those girls, though, wouldn't come back. Now, I hear that there was an apartment building that they would stay in or something. I don't know. But he never sent me a model in all the years, or somebody who could be a top model. Most of the models we found, we got through agents and other companies, and through some of the scouting that I did, I'd say, come on, you come with us and we'll take care of you. So we did that, and I did that for about 2 years, and then I said, I got to get out of here because it was just getting too much, and I couldn't really run it the way I wanted to run it. And so I gave it up, and went in with a company called Model Wire, which Model Wire was run by a guy named Boab Bolishaw, and when he started, we sponsored him at Ford's because he was going to be able to send books through the internet, which has never been done before. So he had an office at our office, and he started to send books through the internet to a client like Macy's or Burdines.
I remember that.
The problem was he had to go to to Burdines and put something on their computer in order to receive the pictures. He had to log in something. Nobody liked that. So now when I left Karen's, he came to me and he said, "Joe, I think I got a guy from Canada and we're going to be able to sell books through the internet without ever going to that company." So sure enough, I started working with him and selling it to different agencies, to different uh, J. Walter Thompson and all these people, that they could come in and look at the models. But basically, I was selling it to agencies, which then they would get onto Model Wire, and Model Wire then, through the Model Wire system, be able to send pictures to J. Walter Thompson, to all these people. And they could allow them to look if they wanted to, at their roster of guys and girls. So I did that. Uh, but going back, I worked hard. Uh, Luck is a big part of it, as I say, being in the right place, the right time. Who knew that this woman would pick up and leave? If she didn't leave, what am I doing next? Where am I going? I went up to the William Morrises, and which are all I felt in my expertise. The talent agencies and stuff. But
Sure.
William Morris at that time wanted to start you in the mailroom, and also wanted to give you a low salary.
Right.
And when I went to Ford, I must say, I took a cut in salary, but I did have health and all that stuff. But I had a great percentage of the agency, so of the commissions and it was very, very generous. So I made a nice living, and aside from I got married when I was very young in the '60s, and that didn't work out. Then I got married in the '70s, and that didn't work out. But then I got married in '80 to a wonderful girl, and she was a model with the Fords, and we were married for over close to 20 years. And we had 2 kids, and my daughter followed me in the fashion business. I mean, she didn't really become an agent, but she became a buyer at Bergdorf's through friends of mine and people that I knew in the business. And my son does a little photography, and so everything worked out well. And here I am. Now I'm an expert.
You really are. Joey, listen, realistically, I mean, the comments that are coming through, brother, are just amazing, extraordinary. People saying, when is the book coming? When is the book coming? That's like the question
Well,
everybody wants to know.
the book has
Obviously,
got all the great stories, the ones that
you,
I can't tell you
you
about the
truly do. Yes.
balcony in Studio 54,
Oh my.
about the
Listen, no,
rubber room downstairs.
we obviously I believe our first meet was, yeah, you're right, when I was a model in Milan. But
Yeah.
I want to share a quick story with people about us, and I don't know if you remember this. Back in 1994, a very dear friend of both of ours came to my office. He called me and said, "Hey, you want to have dinner?" I said, "Yeah." I was when I had my New York office, and he said, "Come on, I'll pick you up." And he picks me up in his limo, and I'm thinking we're going to dinner. The limo stops at the Ford agency.
Oh, really?
I look, dude, what are we doing? Just have an open mind. No, no, no. What are we doing? Dude, Joey just wants to have a conversation with you. What, dude, what are you talking about? Just, dude, just have an open mind. And it was one of the most scariest days of my life, because at this point, I'm at the top of my game. Omar's is doing really well in New York City. And I go up there and you're there. I don't believe Eileen was there. And you say to me, you made me such an incredible offer. And you said, you know, really love you, kid. People speak well of you. I really like your vibe, and we really would like you to come over.
Yeah,
And
I remember.
like yourself, Joey, I am extremely loyal. And the offer was for me and me only.
Yeah,
And I always said, I'm nothing without my team. My
yeah.
team has to come along with me. And thank you, but guys, I am so uncomfortable. I need to get out of here because I was freaking out that like paparazzi or somebody will see me. You remember those days that when you as an agent,
Yeah.
they see you at another agency, they're like, oh my God, he's going to Ford. And it was, but I would always say to people, that was one of the most beautiful, beautiful gestures coming
Well,
from you. It
you
just
were
showed
good.
your the
You
person
you
you
were
are.
you were a hot agent in those days, man. You had a lot of good guys,
Yeah,
and you were
no,
doing very well.
but it
So
was,
I figured
I
if
was
I
very
can't beat you, I got to let you join
you
me.
know, so I wanted to let you know that from the middle of my heart. Thank you for that offer. That
You're
was a
welcome.
beautiful gesture. I've always just had the most incredible love and respect for you, man. Joey, tell me how do you feel about the state of the industry today from what you hear, what you see? What do you think?
Well, I also I'll tell you that, but I wanted to say something else. But I think the industry today with the internet has killed the business because I think the rates have not changed. As a matter of fact, I think most rates are lower than they have been. And there's this new thing called the buyout, which they take a picture for 2, 3 grand and they buy it out. That means they can use it for this, they could use it for that. So basically, when you look at it, your day rate is very tiny. The rest is used up in usage because I'm working on a case now where, what is the model's rate? If they're paying a $2,000, $3,000 to put it on the internet, which is the world, which everybody can look at it, and then they're using it. Uh, uh, they'll take your picture and they'll put it in a clothing store and they'll do this. You can't control this, and everybody's a model.
Everybody's a model.
Everybody's a model,
Yeah.
you know, and so if it was funny. We did a survey where on if the girl's picture was on the internet, they could book her for X amount of dollars. And when they came to us to book a girl, or the same girl, if they saw a picture, or if she wasn't with us, excuse me, and they offered her $10. They came to us for that girl. We wanted 20, and so when people started putting their pictures up on the internet to model, it diluted a lot of the business because they were working for any rate they can get. And this is what's happened with the models now. They're with an agent or a manager, but basically the client out there is not paying all those bucks that they used to pay. Another thing is all your cosmetics and all your high-end advertisers that used to pay a lot of money
Luxury
are
brands.
using celebrities. Now I saw that coming back, and that's why Jerry and I used to hire PR people. Another thing is I remember going back with Cheryl Teagues. Cheryl was up to renew her contract for CoverGirl, and they wanted to renew it, but we wanted a lot of money. So I said, look, everybody knows it's Cheryl Teagues. I said, we should get money for her because she's, they know her name.
She's
So
driving the brand.
they said, oh, we don't know. They don't know the name. So they did a survey and they found out that indeed everybody knew the girl was Cheryl Tiegs, because we started to put names with the models. And it so happened that Glamour helped us because they decided to put names on the models. So all of a sudden, that blonde was Cheryl Tiegs. And of course, they came back and gave us our money that we wanted. But they said to us, which was a joke, they said, we'd like to use a name. And of course, we said yes. And then most of the cosmetics wanted to use names and stuff. And that's where we got some big bucks. But today, it's celebrities. And when I was at Ford, I wanted to open some sort of celebrity division. I wanted to use actors and actors, but actors and actors frowned on it. They said, we can't do commercials here. We can't be associated. But they worked in Japan like crazy. Yeah. Michael Douglas was the voice of the car company in Japan. Yeah. You know, so Jack Nicholson did his sunglasses in Japan. Yeah. So it was tough. But now everybody that's in a film or on TV wants to do a print ad. So that takes a lot of money away from the kids that are working as models. We have models now that I don't think are models. Yeah, they're celebrities. You know, they're not like the ones I know. You know, so they may be making big bucks, but the rest of them are not making the bucks because of these buyouts and the internet that sends their picture all over the place.
The oversaturation.
Oversaturated.
You know, you spoke of buyout, and it's funny because I did a segment last week on that word, buyout and perpetuity. Like, what what do you mean perpetuity for the rest of my life?
We used to hate that word.
Can you give me perpetuity money? I'll
take perpetuity. We would never, ever give perpetuity.
You understand? I mean, so to me, what's the difference between perpetuity and buyout? I mean,
same thing.
It's the same thing. So one of the things I begged, and for those who are listening, I begged, I don't know if they're going to follow, stop tagging multi-billion-dollar clients on Instagram or social media accounts. Because if your boyfriend bought you that beautiful Dior bag, why do you have to tag them? They didn't pay you. Yeah. Why are you giving them free advertising? So what's happening back to what you're saying, there's so much free advertising clients get these days that why would they want to pay a model? It's like, wait, you want me to pay you to be the face of my brand? Let me show you 1,000 girls' accounts that are tagging my product for free. And they have 300,000-400,000 followers. And that's what the industry is dealing with today.
Right. So, they're looking for followers. They want to book a girl who has followers. Therefore, if they put her in an ad, at least they know they've got 80,000 or a million followers coming, which is, to me, who's following? I could follow somebody too, but can I buy that bag? No. But, and why am I following her? I think she's hot,
The same thing I've been saying to people. Listen, how many times your buddies, or I know my buddies, they send me pictures of some hot girl and like, dude, how hot is she?
Exactly. So I think the business today, I was in the thick of the business. We made, then we charged the service charge. We started with the service charge, where we started charging 20% to the client. And I got to tell you why we did that. There was a reason. It wasn't just that we wanted to do it. At that time, interest rates were like 13-14%. And we were paying our models every week. So Jerry was really knew what he was doing and was very good for the business. So he said, I'm going to start charging the client because we're not getting paid from this client for 40 days, 60 days. Nobody, very few paid in 30 days.
Yeah.
So he says, I'm going to charge them. So on every $100, he charged 20%. So that's how we got that in. And then everybody started charging it. So basically, it was 20, or it started at 15 maybe. I forget. But that's how the service charge came into being.
But
But now I hear some clients won't pay service charges.
No, of course.
Some clients are not going to pay the rate that you want. You know, clients have set their own rate. You either take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's so many models and so many model agencies. And if you get the few that stand out, of course, you may be able to make big money for it. But, you know, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. You know, I mean, the modeling business to me is people should aspire to be the girl or the guy in the picture. And that's why I liked great looking guys. You know, they were all fit. They were all what I called handsome. And I sort of couldn't really understand why they were taken. One day I walked out of my office because I was up in men's division. My office was behind. And one day I walked out and she was having a go-see Rita. And I thought it was a bunch of homeless guys. No shave, you know, clothes that looked horrible, you know. I said, holy shit, what's this business coming to? You know? And it slowly changed. Of course, it changes for the trends. You know, it becomes trendy to do this and trendy to do that. And there's this whole thing with influencers. I don't know who they're influencing, but they may be influencing people that need it. You know, maybe their mothers and fathers can't influence them, so they're looking online to be influenced. You know, we had a business. There was a certain look, a certain style that clients wanted, and we found it for them. We'd look, we'd find the right type. If short hair came in, I'd tell my guys, you can't work with the long hair. When long hair come in, I'd say, hey, why don't you grow your hair long? It looks like it's, you know, we could pick up this and pick up that. Yeah. You know, so it changes, but to me, it's changed now for the worse. I don't understand it. We used to have, when I was at Ford, I opened up Ford Florida. It was a booming business. I told them to buy Nina Blanchard. We bought Nina Blanchard in California. You know, so all these, Florida, I think, is not a great market anymore. I think Next has got it, you know.
Please don't freeze on me again, Joey, please. You're about to say some really interesting stuff. Oh my God.
There we go. You know, the market has died in Florida, and I think there's one or two agencies down there that dominate, but it's not like it used to be. And we went down there because they shot catalogs there. The Germans, the Germans went down there, and they were sending the film back on the red eye and getting it back in the morning. You know, so there was a lot of business, and you know, so Florida was good, and then we expanded to Canada. I wanted to buy Milano. My friend Giorgio Piazzi was getting out of fashion model. Sure. I told Eileen we should buy it. Orangery didn't want to. We had a chance to buy Karen's in California, in Paris. Karen was a model with us, Karen Mosberg. She had a great agency, and we dealt with Karen's all the time.
Sure.
That's how I got involved with Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc was working at Karen's.
Yeah.
So he basically worked with us a lot when he was in Paris and we were at Ford. It was a great market. We go to Paris, we'd send girls to Paris a lot to build up their portfolios because they were more risk, not risk, more
Well, the editorial
advanced.
market was
Yeah,
more.
they were willing to try other things, and they had a group of photographers that were terrific. Finally, all of them came to the United States, too. The Reinhardts, the Alex Chatelains,
Sure.
Patrick de Marchilliers, and so they had a great. They were very good, very good, and
Joey, this is what's going to have to happen with us, because I want to make sure that our audience understand that time is limited, and we're going to have a part two with you because there's so much to cover,
oh,
and you've had just such an extraordinary, just what an extraordinary life, and again, I share the exact things that you say about how the industry has changed. It breaks my heart. I'm completely heartbroken for what I see today. Breaks my heart every day. I I'm in, it's acceptance. You got to accept what it is. Things are what
yes,
they are. But like you said, we came from an era that we truly enjoyed being model agents and creating stars, and no one like yourself. I mean, I've learned so much just being on this one-on-one with you and learning about the 20% and the 20% service fee. It never dawned on me,
that's how
and
we did it. We did it.
and
Ford
that
did it.
was you. That
I
was
mean,
you.
and so
So what I
we
like to do, I would like to thank you ahead of time. Listen, I just have to do this with you a part two, Joey, because I truly believe that there's so
anytime,
much more,
anytime,
and
anytime.
we're going to share some Brooklyn stories because that's where I started my life in America. I went to the Midwood High School.
That's
That's where
where
I
New Utrecht High
graduated.
School in Brooklyn.
So, listen, Joey, I want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and the team at Era,
Listen,
Nadia, for
Omar,
creating this
we should do
platform.
we should do a series. I have enough stories so we could do 13
Oh
weeks.
oh my goodness, 13 weeks with Joey Hunter. I love the name already, Joey.
We I got a million stories, a million
So really,
stories.
we're going to be sharing those very soon. I want to thank you,
Oh, you're
Joey. Thank you
welcome,
from the
Omar.
middle of my heart.
It was a
And
pleasure.
grazie mille, fratello. Grazie mille
Thank
from
you, Omar. I
the
hope to see
middle
you
of my
soon.
heart,
Thank you
buddy.
for inviting me.
And
And I
we will be
hope
speaking soon.
everybody out there is listening to all this and to see how a business was born and how a business is really not what it used to be and what it was like back in its infancy.
Uh, Joey, I will speak to you
All
soon, my
right.
friend.
Take care, Omar. I
Ciao.
think I know how to get out of this, right?
Just push that button and we're out, buddy.
All right.
Thank you so
You're
much, guys.
welcome.
Ciao.
Ciao.